Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Hope everyone is doing okay. Now, the podcast has been pushed back to almost an hour because just as I was going on, just as I was about to go on, guess what dropped? An absolute bombshell. I want to say a huge thank you to Byline Investigates and all of their investigators for your bravery. They have done an expose on Dan Wootton. There are new allegations from them, and this is the first part of a 3-year investigation. They have been investigating him for 3 years, and it reveals the accounts of victims targeted by Dan Wootton. This is a very dark and ugly web, and I think that this is going to eventually, when it comes out, going to be one of the most horrific, absolutely horrific cases of abuse from a public figure. This is a very, very dark web, and I should just say, when we do get to this part of the podcast, if you have any triggers pertaining to abuse, coercion, or just anything, just you're not in the headspace to read or listen to anything dark, I would absolutely just encourage you to not listen to today's podcast. Maybe come back another time when you're in a better headspace, because it's quite dark, and I just don't want anyone who's not in a good headspace to have to listen to any of this. So go protect your mental health. Go listen to a meditation. Replay will be here and for another time. But for those of you that do want to listen, we will get into this in the second half of the podcast. There's just a couple other things that I wanted to go through. First of all, just thank you to who's this? Tamiko Hinman for 9 months of membership. So very much appreciated. Thank you. And also thank you to who's this? To Ginny Rock Bailey. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Much appreciated. Thank you. Appreciate you all. Right, there's almost 500 of you in the chat, so I'm gonna just assume all of the usuals are here, especially with the news just breaking. So, hello everyone, and let's get to it. Okay, first things first. I meant to say an unhappy birthday to this person. Yes. Would anyone like to guess how old Camilla is? I don't know how old she is, but apparently it's her birthday today. Didn't know. Didn't know until it just popped up on my feed in the last couple of hours. But yes, it is this person's birthday, and I hope she had a very, very unhappy birthday. Yalibi, thank you so much for the super sticker, much appreciated. Also Lorna Williams, 12 months membership in the squad, and also Kathy G, 18 months. Wow, thank you all so much. Okay, round of applause for all of you. Round of applause. Absolutely could not do this without you. And also, who was it the other day? Oh yeah, Black Queen, who bought me 5 copies on Sunday. Thank you so much for the copies, Black Queen. Thank you. Okay, where was I now? Yes, Sir Trevor Phillips, apparently being a hater pays, and now we know why he was hating on Meghan. This was the guy who was trying to brush off Meghan's feelings about the way that she was treated within the royal household and by the press in relation to her blackness. And he now gets to take over from Sophie Ridge as the new host of Sky News' flagship Sunday morning politics show. Being a hater pays, obviously. I mean, I don't believe that Murdoch has any or too much control over Sky now, but it was once owned by him. Also, those paparazzi pictures that were taken of Meghan walking around Montecito. So they had labeled this guy in the picture as Meghan's security detail. He was just keeping a safe distance. That's how they tagged him in the photo. Mind you, the photos were taken by a rather controversial individual, a Miss Jill something. She's not like a well, she taught herself how to be a paparazzi. But she's been quite notorious because they found things on her computer. She had hacked into, people's computers. So she's the one that actually took these images, sold them to the Daily Mail, and they said that this guy was Meghan's security guard. Well, it wasn't. It wasn't her security guard at all. It was Zach Bagans, his personal assistant called Bacon. And he was literally just walking around in the market that day and got snapped in the back completely by chance while Meghan was walking through there as well. They will literally make anything and everything up. And why are they speculating over who is Meghan's security detail and who isn't? Given they're the ones that are responsible for the fact that they have to have such a heavy security detail. And then they also claimed that Meghan went with her dog when she wasn't allowed the dog. Well, it turns out the sign that was in that report was from a different market than the one that Meghan was at. Two completely different markets. So they literally got a sign from somewhere else to try and paint a narrative that Meghan was walking her dog where she shouldn't have been walking her dog. The desperation. This is all they have. This, and apparently we've been having white t-shirt discourse. I keep seeing all these weird stories about Meghan and white t-shirts coming up on my feed. And honestly, sometimes when I see things like that, I'm just like, not today. Not today. I'm not talking about it. Apparently the whole thing with Samantha Markle is still going on. If you've noticed, I'm not talking about it. I'm not talking about that non-story. But now they're so desperate for a story, they're just making the most tedious things up now. Give it a couple more weeks and we'll be back to Meghan's ruining the monarchy because she's wearing black nail polish and a one-shouldered gowns. And because she's not wearing tights. And Meghan was a bully. And that time when Meghan wore Saudi era, I mean, it's just a cycle of the same thing over and over again because they have nothing. Also, just back to this story quickly. This story about our rich king who now apparently has to pay rent at his rich son's house, which was bought by taxpayer money. This story was actually written by Kate Manzi. I didn't realize that when I first reported on this. And who is Kate Manzi? Kate Manzi is currently in a lawsuit because of a false story that she wrote about Harry's security detail. So it's interesting that that person would write this story that would make William look bad. I don't know if I believe that William even has the power to tell Charles that he has to pay to live at his house. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that works. There's so much lack of transparency about royal money. Obviously, they're just briefing each other and having a tantrum. But I thought that was quite interesting that it was Kate Manzi that wrote this article, and I didn't notice that at first. She is clearly very much in the fold now, one of the royal rota rats. And she was even given an award, despite the fact that she is in a lawsuit having written an article that was fake. That obviously pertaining to Harry's security detail. Also, over at Wimbledon, who's been watching Wimbledon? Do we have any Wimbledon tennis fans in the house? I haven't been watching, but I have been seeing the royals on my feed more than the actual tennis players. It's like Wimbledon has become one big royal advertisement every single year now. Also, if you've noticed on this, I want you to look at the figures of the engagement on this Daily Mail tweet with the Welleses. Almost 13,000 impressions, 400 likes, 32 retweets, 30 responses as of the time that this tweet was screenshot. And what's interesting is that if you go to the Daily Mail Twitter, on average, and mind you, it's all celebrity stories, all celebrity news, you're looking at maybe one or two likes, one or two retweets. The only stories that have any high engagement are just the royal stories. More so, any royal stories about Harry and Meghan. And recently, maybe only 2 or 3 months ago now, the Daily Mail actually launched a whole entire section on their site that is dedicated just to churning out royal news. And to be honest, I had no idea just how much. Even if you take Harry and Meghan out of this, there is actually um demand in general for the royals, because like before Meghan came into the fold, I wasn't that interested. Obviously now that since she came into the fold, the interest went up. But for them to actually have a whole section now on the Daily Mail website, it must be making them a lot of money. And all of that to say, I think this is why, one of the reasons why, the Waleses are just kind of trapped between a rock and a hard place, because they have to offer up their children, and they have to offer up themselves to keep the press happy. But that comes at the expense of their children's well-being and at the expense of their marriage, which is, crumbling in front of everyone's eyes. So I thought that was quite interesting, because I just hadn't. And obviously, Harry and Meghan news is always the number one story when it comes to royals, but I just hadn't realized how much the Daily Mail and these UK tabloids rely on royal news. It's like it's almost like it's keeping them afloat more than anything, just because of the engagement. Also, this popped up today. This whole thing about the royal family being dragged into an N-word race row. And I tweeted in response to this, there's a S-predator called Dan Wootton roaming free. Miss me with that N-word row distraction. Like we don't already know this institution that has blackamoor lamps lining its hallways is bigoted. Focus, folks. Indeed. So this whole thing came about because of writing that was in a royal collection catalogue that was published in 2008. And right when we're in the thick of numerous other headlining stories, The Independent decides to do an investigation into text that has been around since 2008. Please don't tell me this isn't a distraction. Please do not tell me that this isn't a distraction. Not a single tabloid covered Dan Wootton. But all of a sudden, we have a race row over something that was first published in 2008, but it's just coming up now. B, please, I see you. 100% a distraction. And that's all I have to say about this. I mean, if they're taking away the catalog or whatever it is now, then fine. But please do not distract me with this nonsense, because the number one story is Dan Wootton. And Kev Sutherland, who came out with allegations the other day, he tweeted today, those that believe, no explanation is necessary. Those that don't believe, no explanation will ever suffice. And if you ask me, I absolutely believe him and anybody else that wants to come forward. The difficult thing for the victims now who want to come forward, though, sorry, can I just say thank you so much to Beverly W for sending a PayPal, much appreciated. Thank you. The difficult thing for victims now is, who do they trust? Because you would hope that you can trust the law. Well, they've been to the police, they're not getting help. You would hope that maybe there's someone in government who would be standing up for these victims. Well, instead, you've got MPs, more specifically Tory MPs, who are meant to be in charge of scrutinising the British media, hosting free drinks events for the likes of GB News. I've always said that GB News wanted to position itself as as the UK version of Fox, and so therefore basically the news channel of the Tory party. And this Caroline Dinniage, who was scrutinising proposed changes to media legislation, sponsored this sponsored event this month. And the article says, actually no, I'll read the whole thing. But among the many presenters who were there were Dan Wootton. So if you're looking at this and you're a victim of Dan Wootton, can you trust that you can go to the police? Can you trust that there's anyone who's looking out for you? Oh, let's read the article. So, the Tory MP in charge of scrutinising the British media hosted a parliamentary drinks party for GB News. And it's interesting, it was just for GB News. It wasn't even for the press as a whole, it was for GB News. Caroline Dinniage sponsored an event for the right-wing television channel in a room on the parliamentary estate this month. Dinniage is chair of the House of Commons Culture Select Committee, which is examining the government's proposed media legislation, including changes to impartiality requirements. Hun, there ain't going to be no changes. They're hosting whole parties for these people. There are going to be no changes. In fact, they're probably meeting to discuss how they're going to change absolute jack-ish and cover for each other. The article goes on to say, in recent weeks, her committee has questioned whether GB News should be allowed to employ 4 serving Conservative MPs as presenters. The Tory Deputy Chair, Lee Anderson, is under investigation for filming some of his 100K a year show on the roof of Parliament. In a sign of GB News' growing influence over right-wing politics in the UK, the Summer Drinks event was attended by Home Secretary Suella Braverman. She's the one who went to Rwanda and was laughing while standing in front of the immigration camps. And apparently she said that she liked the decor. And her predecessor in the post was also there, Priti Patel. According to Politico, other MPs in attendance included Chris Heaton-Harris, Mark Francois, Graham Brady, and Joe Gideon. They were joined by GB News presenters, including Dan Wootton. Dinniage, the MP for Gosport, did not respond to multiple requests for comment on whether hosting an event for GB News in Parliament raised questions about her impartiality as committee chair. Disclosure data suggests that she has hosted no events for other broadcasters in recent years. Although the MP sponsored the event and helped book the room in Parliament, the cost of hosting it was borne by GB News themselves, a parliamentary spokesperson confirmed. And she herself has appeared on GB News, criticised other broadcasters, and cross-examined the ITV boss, Carolyn McCall, in Parliament. Fox is running the hen house, folks. Fox is running the hen house. Okay, the article goes on a little bit. I'll post the whole thing so you can read it in your own time. But there you have it. I mean, Dan Wootton is right in the belly of the beast with these people. So it's no wonder he's being protected. And it seems like he has been potentially even blackmailing people in power too. Also, this happened. There's a guy named Simon Jones PR. Simon Jones is a PR person to many big stars here in the UK. One Direction, and also Little Minx, and other popular personalities in the UK. He, it would appear, has been deleting photos of him and Dan Wootton from his page. Distancing himself? And from what? I guess we'll find out more and more as the weeks come out. But with that, I'm going to go through your comments and then we will get on to the main story and I will read this article out in full. It's quite long, so buckle yourselves up. Right, let's get through your comments before we get to that. If you just joined us, please do hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. Right. Let's see, who's this? Lorna, you said, thanks everyone for the congratulations. It's been a wonderful time and I've learned a lot from you all. Oh, happy to have you here. Thank you so much to Leisha C for the 3 coffees. Much appreciated. Thank you. Janet, not for long. His show will soon be cancelled. Well, he was meant to actually come on today. And I don't actually know if he's come on. Let's have a look. Oh, by the way, both the Daily Express and the Mirror tried to call the farmers market where Meghan went shopping. Ridiculous. That is how irrelevant our Meghan is. And oh, there's actually a whole there is a whole room on Spaces. There's over 300 people, and they're all talking about this. Let me just see if I can get any more. Oh, so there's a guy named Adam Brooks, Essex PR, who tweeted, "On my way home to watch Dan Wootton tonight," and he's deleted that tweet. He's a GB News personality, and he tweeted that, and he's now deleted it. Let's see what else is coming up on Twitter. It's really popping off. Yeah, it's being spread all over the place, guys. Let's see who else is tweeting. Yeah, the floodgates are opening. Let me just see if I can. Yeah, the article from Bylines is already in. What's it been, an hour or so? 758,000 views. Well done, Bylines. Well done. Let's see. Compton Caligo, you said that you believe that it's a lie so that Camilla can get the 360 like Philip. Oh, you mean with the house and everything? Maybe. Maybe. Could also just be them briefing against each other. Melissa, he is now the Prince of Wales, so everything that Charles used to own, William now owns. So yes, he can charge him for rent. Really? Oh, we need a royal money expert to come on and let us know. I just find it weird because at the end of the day, it's like at the base of it, it's yes, obviously they've got the duchy and they charge for the duchy and all of that, but it's still taxpayers' money that's contributing to some of this being maintained. Yeah, we need more transparency about royal money because it's very, very confusing. Minx, why didn't Spanish King present the trophy? I don't know, but I did see him there. He was there. Okay, let's just get straight to the story then. Right, Dan Wootton. Here we go. Trigger warning, folks. This isn't going to be a pretty one, okay? Oh. Honestly, when I started this podcast, I would never have imagined these are the type of stories that I would be covering. But this disgusting rat has been one of the biggest one of the biggest Meghan bullies of all, like rivaling Piers Morgan, maybe even worse in some ways, because Piers Morgan, at least, his vendetta was that he wanted to stop Harry from going ahead with his court case. Whereas with Dan, it was just that he jumped on it because it was profitable, and I'm sure there was money involved, and he was told, you go after them, you'll be rewarded. So it's not like Dan has any personal vendetta against the Sussexes, but he is well and truly getting his karma. And yes, let us not forget what he did to Caroline Flack, who also briefly dated Harry and lost her life. And when her boyfriend tried to get justice for Caroline Flack, he was then charged and thrown into jail for harassing, as the judge wanted to put it, Dan Wootton, when really he was trying to get the truth out there. And how disgusting is it that you have a so-called justice system where somebody was trying to tell the truth about this predator and ended up getting jailed? That is wild. And Dan Wootton is still roaming free. Okay, here we go. GB News presenter and Mail Online columnist Dan Wootton hid behind fake online identities to trick and bribe scores of men into revealing compromising material, Byline Times can reveal in the first part of a 3-year special investigation. The 40-year-old broadcaster and self-styled voice against the woke culture, whose show Dan Wootton Tonight is the biggest ratings winner on the UK's fourth most watched news channel, targeted journalistic colleagues, friends, and members of the public for at least 10 years. Byline Times has extensive evidence to show that between June 2008 and 2018, Wootton, who is gay, posed as a fictitious businessman agent called Martin Branning to offer sums of up to 30,000 tax-free to his targets, many of whom were heterosexual men. Among them are a very senior executive at Rupert Murdoch's News UK, alongside at least 6 other staff at the Sun newspaper. One with close links to News UK's CEO Rebecca Brooks. Friends, Facebook associates, and users of dating apps of Grindr and Gaydar. So, I'm going to stop right there. So, among them, let's just go back. Among them are a very senior executive at Rupert Murdoch's News UK. Who could that executive be? I don't know. Anyone's guess. But one with close links to CEO, News UK CEO Rebecca Brooks. Rebecca Brooks is the red-headed lady who was one of the central figures in the phone hacking trial. Harry also briefly mentions her not exactly by name. He uses like a false name, but it's her. It's Rebecca Brooks, and he talks about how she was obsessed with him and how she went after him. When he was a young man. And I actually did a whole video on Rebecca Brooks and her career and her involvement in the phone hacking scandal. So if you go back a little bit further down my podcast, you'll find that video. I talk a lot about basically from the time she was in school all the way up to her getting into news and the whole phone hacking scandal. So who's this person to Rebecca Brooks? Could possibly be Andy Coulson, just a guess from me, and other people who were at the Sun also. So the Sun were willing to pay off people to stay silent just to cover for Dan Wootton. And also remember the editor of The Sun, Victoria something, I forget her second name, days after the Queen died, she met with Charles. And The Sun has also held parties for Charles and Camilla. Oh, okay. It goes on to say, two of the targets made criminal complaints to Scotland Yard without knowing the real identity of their tormentor, with detectives aware of the activities of Branning, whose name is um, a play on an EastEnders character, Martin Fowler and Max Branning, since 2019. Anybody who watches EastEnders, I haven't watched it for years. If that has any relevance, Martin Fowler and Max Branning, please do let us know. Are they nasty characters in EastEnders? Our journalist handed a 28-page dossier of evidence to the Metropolitan Police for investigation on the 20th of June, 2023. However, last week, criminal claims started to emerge on social media, with the post rapidly attracting more than 18 million views, causing Wootton to trend on Twitter for several days. As a result, this newspaper Bylines is today publishing some details of our findings. We have identified 5 co-conspirators along with a representative group of around a dozen victims. A dozen victims. However, sources suggest the true figure extends to many, many more men. He did this over 10 years. There's got to be more. Byline Times knows the names of those involved, but in order to protect the victims and the in wanting to bring down Wootton. And whatever wrong someone has done, because I can imagine if some of these people are associates of people like Rebecca Brooks and Rupert Murdoch, there are probably people who we don't like. But even if we don't like you, it doesn't mean that you can't still be a victim. It doesn't mean that it, that it was right that what Wootton did to you, it was wrong. And we are all united in bringing this person down. So please come forward. I have no judgment for anyone who was a victim of Wootton. And based on just what I have seen on social the last few days, we are definitely all united in wanting to bring this man down. And any victims that come forward will absolutely be supported. So please come forward. There will be no judgments here. And whatever we may think of you as people, that can be 100% put aside for the sake of making sure justice is served and this man is behind bars. Right, goes on to say, Wootton has been off air at GB News, on which he hosts a weekly night show for 2 weeks, taking leave to visit his family who live near Wellington in his native New Zealand. He has been silent in the face of mass Twitter accusations, except to retweet promotions of his broadcasting return due at 9 p.m. tonight. In his absence, the news channel has covered the money for Images controversy surrounding the BBC and lead presenter Hugh Edwards, describing the story as a nuclear bomb. Do you know something? I'm starting to wonder then. I mean, this whole Hugh Edwards story was so random in the way that it came out. I'm starting to wonder if this was just a distraction because they knew that the Wootton accusations were coming. Stand-in Mark Dolan told viewers on Dan Wootton Tonight it's a bad day for Hugh Edwards as he battles for his health and the future of his career, but for the BBC it's even worse. Dolan added on 14th of July that this Hugh Edwards story is not going anywhere, and neither is this Dan Wootton story. Hugh Edwards can go sob in a corner wherever he's sobbing in a corner somewhere. We focus on Dan Wootton. Goes on to say, at the time of Dolan's most recent comment, Byline Times investigators had already informed executives at GB News of the scope of the allegations against Wootton, but the channel has continued to heavily promote Wootton's program. During the established period of his activities, Wootton was initially an influential editor of Murdoch's News of the World, which was shut down because of phone hacking, before moving once the paper closed in 2011. He then went to the Daily Mail, then from 2013 to Britain's biggest selling tabloid, The Sun, which he edits, of which he edited the bizarre showbiz column before becoming an associate editor. Yes, and actually during that time, he was obsessed with One Direction, particularly Harry and Louis. And there are rumors that he would go into the changing rooms of One Direction and try to take pictures of them. That's one of the rumors that's been floating around for a while. Wouldn't surprise me. Okay, so it goes on to say, his career has given him great power and influence in British media and access to the worlds of television, celebrity, and the monarchy, on which it is his highly paid professional role to report. Tonight, a representative for Wootton declined to provide Byline Times with an on-the-record response. It is understood that he strictly denies all allegations of criminality. The representative did not clarify when asked whether Wootton also denies being Martin Branning. Right, there's a second half of this. Before I go into the second half, I'm going to get some of your comments. So much for being patient with me. Legs, thank you so much for Super Sticker. You said Dan Wootton taking time to focus on his mental health. Oh gosh. I mean, he needed mental health help a long time ago before he became a serial blackmailer. YM Droid, not enough babies in the world to distract now, indeed. Thank you so much, Sins, for the super sticker. Thank you, Dorothy Ross, for the super sticker. And thank you so much, Lightside. Yes, those post publications were clear distractions. GB News, Daily Felt New. Yeah. Throwing everything else at the wall, hoping that we're distracted. I mean, shock horror, royal family literature and writing has bigoted words in it. Shock horror. Please. We done knew about this institution. All right, let me just see if there's any other comments before I go into the second half. TB, my question is, why hasn't he been arrested? That's my question too. It seems like this guy is so protected that they're probably scared to arrest him. He obviously has some kind of collateral that is preventing him from being arrested. Benjamin, will this influence the judge's ruling in the case Harry and others are bringing before the courts? No, I can't think of why, unless he's blackmailed the judges too. Oh. Sound? Is there an issue? Wait, was there an issue with sound earlier? How's the sound now? Was it really bad? Sorry, I didn't actually see your comments about the sound. Is it generally okay now? Before I go into the next thing? Sorry, folks. Trying to read and look at the chat at the same time, it can be quite difficult. Like, was it bad? Did it cut me out quite a lot, or? Okay, just for a few seconds. All right. Here, let me actually post the article in the chat so you can read along, just in case the sound cuts again. There you go. There's the article. Give me 1 second and we'll continue reading it. Okay, second half. Of admissions Dan Wootton made to a trusted former colleague and friend, in which during his many moments of crisis, he revealed his fear of being exposed as Martin Branning and the prospect of a pylon of victims. One victim, who is married with children, told the newspaper that he was left in shock to receive a text from Branning, aka Dan, offering him £10,000 tax free in return for what he claimed to be private work to pose nude, adding that it felt like blackmail or entrapment. A second victim told Byline Times that Branning had sent him messages from untraceable numbers day and night, offering him sums of up to 30,000 in return for compromising pictures and that sort of thing. This victim said he had uncovered a pattern of men who had worked with Wootton being harassed with unsolicited malicious communications. Do you know something? I think that not only was Dan Wootton doing this for his own sick pleasures, I think he possibly could have been working for someone else. Someone else who also wanted to entrap powerful people. I mean, there is a rumor, there's a long-standing rumor that this is how Epstein was trapping people and why it's been so difficult to get any truth out of Epstein. Sounds very similar. Okay, goes on to say a third victim, a former junior colleague um, who has indicated that he is willing to speak to the police, revealed how on several occasions um, he received disguised calls with offers of work with a sexual, can't say the word, context, and that it was pretty obvious they were from Wootton. It was all pretty much always the same thing: 20 to 30,000 for naked photos. Are you intrigued about who I am? This sort of stuff, right? He said, adding that it was driving him insane and ultimately provoked him to go to the police, who sent a detective to his home to make a statement in 2019. A fourth victim, another junior colleague, was contacted on Facebook by Wootton in 2009, posing as a blonde woman called Maria Joseph. So he had another alias as well. Maria Joseph, who exchanged flirty messages before swapping images of an unconnected female face from reality TV in return for images of the colleague, who is heterosexual and today also married with children. The fourth victim said, I received a friend request from a girl named Maria Joseph. Immediately, she was very flirty, and having just come out of a messy breakup, I didn't have my wits about me as much as I should. She soon started to send me semi nude pics and swapped to email and then phone. Her number was a New Zealand number. Where is Dan Wootton from? He's from New Zealand. And she said she'd just come back from over a year there. As more pics came through, she started to request them from me, which I dutifully obliged. Fortunately, I kept my face out of them. She then started to send ones she'd already sent, which she brushed off with, obviously, I'm talking to a few guys at the same time. At this point, I'm being super careful and to snoop further into her profile. Catfishing wasn't really a known thing back then, but I knew something was up. We had 5 friends in common on Facebook, Dan plus 4 others. When I clicked the others, the only common link was Dan. Very, very sloppy criminal. Very, very sloppy criminal. Then a video came through of her having S with a man. However, I recognized him as someone from a reality TV show, as he's a friend of a friend. This made me realize I knew the identity of the girl and that it could not be legitimate. So, with this, the New Zealand number, the sole common denominator, I was sure it was him. So, I messaged Maria to say, "Hi, Dan. Interesting way to get D pics." The next day, the profile was gone. I was embarrassed that I had not been vigilant. It makes my blood run cold as to how vulnerable I had made myself. I felt stupid. So he had two aliases, could have possibly had even more. Little Mac said, which paper offered the actor 70k to say he had a relationship with Meghan? Does anyone think Boo Boo was behind that as well? Possibly. That was the Daily Fell. And he actually said no. Benjamin, Dan likely even has info on William purposely going after William and Meghan. Imagine if it came to that. I mean, my gosh, can you imagine? Can you imagine? I mean, if he was entrapping people, blackmailing people, who knows who he has on camera doing what? We won't go there today. Okay. So it goes on to say, Byline Times is publishing today, following a series of revelations made on Twitter by Wootton's former partner of 4 years, Alex Truby, in a thread of tweets which, at the time of publication, has attracted almost 50 million views. Mr. Truby said that Wootton gained unauthorized access to his social media accounts and email, leading him to suspect that he was being stalked. The intrusion became evident when Mr. Truby found his Gmail account was being accessed from an IP address at the News of the World office, where Wootton was employed at the time. Mr. Truby also told how, while he was flat sitting for Wootton in 2013, who was visiting family in New Zealand, he found a padlock hold door concealed behind Wootton's washing machine, which he opened and found an external hard drive inside containing a secretly filmed video of an employee of the Sun engaging in activity with their partner. With the video, Mr. Truby described finding a transcription of an MSN Messenger conversation between the Sun's employee's partner and Martin Branning. The MSN conversation was between the colleague's partner and someone called Martin Branning, whereby an arrangement was indeed made to make an S-tape in secret without his colleague's knowledge in exchange for £500. I knew instantly that Martin Branning was Dan. Now, the thing about all of this is because it's just such a web of corruption, you can say, oh, go to the police, but the police are corrupt. Are there politicians that can help? Well, the politicians are corrupt. They're having lunches with the press. And the most powerful people in press, Murdoch and Rothermere, also have a chokehold on government and the royals. So it's like, who do you go to and who do you turn to for justice? And how are we going to get justice here? That's the question I'm asking. I need to drink some water. It's so hot in Turkey. Well, the whole of Europe is having a heat wave, but actually, give me a sec, folks. Let me just put on I've realized actually the reason I'm feeling so hot is because I don't have my fan on. One sec. Oh dear. Okay. Now I've got my fan on, I feel better. So it goes on to say, Bylines has learned that before ending his relationship with Wootton, Mr. Truby confronted him over the contents of the hold-all. Mr. Truby said that Wootton made a tearful admission of guilt, acknowledging He was the creator and controller of the pseudonym Martin Branning. Oh, some of you are saying I'm cutting out a little bit. Okay, folks, let's bear with me. We'll get through it. It's not too bad, is it? Is it like so terrible that you can't hear me? Just let me know in the comments before I continue. It's almost at the end, so not too much to read out now. Okay. You can hear okay. All right. Let's get to the end of this. Byline Times has put the content of this story in its entirety to DB News, Mail Online, and the Metropolitan Police. After it was announced that Wootton would be fronting his regular GB News show at 9 p.m. this evening, Byline Times again approached it for comment, extending the deadline for a response. At the time of publication, no comment has been provided. A spokesperson for News UK said, "We have received an email from Byline this afternoon, which we are looking into. We are not able to make any further comment at this stage. The newspaper's dossier of evidence remains with the Metropolitan Police." And that is the end of the article. What do you even say? What do you even say to any of that? The only thing I have the energy to say right now, as it's coming to 2 a.m. in Istanbul, is thank you to Tina and Michelle. Because Tina and Michelle are the first ones that started applying pressure to Dan Wootton. And the whole of the Sussex squad are the only ones who have tried to stay on this man's neck. So much point that we were on his nasty lips.
The Sussex squad. 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 The Sussex squad.
Yeah, we are absolutely your worst nightmare, sir, and the nightmare is just beginning. Who knows how many people have been hurt? And this is a crime. Blackmailing people, filming people without their consent. Okay. It is way past my bedtime. And this has been a very heavy podcast. So I encourage you to just go and try and rejuvenate, listen to some meditation music. I'm hoping that this is the beginning of some kind of, do you know what? Even if we don't get justice, at least the truth has come out. But let's see where this goes. Let's just see. I don't want to sound too defeatist. Maybe there will be people who have a backbone that'll come forward and say, "Do you know what? We have to do something about this man." Actually, I won't call him a man because a man doesn't behave like this. This troll. And well, the only other thing that's going to happen, because there is no honor amongst thieves, they will just make him a sacrificial lamb and make him go away themselves. It's happened before. Happened with Max Clifford. Never ever thought that Max Clifford would be brought down. And he died in jail, I think. I think he died in jail. Well, he's dead. Whether it was in jail or out of jail, he's dead. With many secrets. Well, I never thought he would go down. I thought that he was indestructible. Like Weinstein, right? We know that there are many, many, many other Weinsteins. But it's like they made him the sacrificial lamb. Because he was the top guy. So, At the very least, maybe that's what will happen to Dan. But Byline is saying that this is the first part of a 3-year investigation. So let's see what else they have. Do support them. Go read their website, and if you want to donate to them, I think that they have been very trustworthy so far, very fair and balanced, even in their reporting about Harry and Meghan and the lawsuits that they have brought forward to the press. So, if you want to drop them a $5 or a $10, please do support them. And with that, I will jump off. Thank you all so much for your generosity, for your donations, and for your time. All of this helps. Wouldn't be able to do this day in and day out without you all. All right, folks, enjoy the rest of your day. Ciao.
All right, today we're going to talk about how we can find out and how much we can find out and what it takes to get there. So first we have to decide how much do we want to find out. So let's say in this case, I want to find out at a level of 7. Okay, so I find that level on my graph and I come horizontally to my gradient line. Where it intersects with my gradient line, I'm going to come straight down to where it intersects with my fuck around line. That there is going to tell me how much I have to fuck around to find out what I need to find out. See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. And also, if you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out. So I hope this lesson is helpful. Thank you.